Do it.
Hi, my name is Joe. Welcome back to A Fresh Cup of Joe. This week I have Morgan Turner with me.
Also known as Mo.
So that's what we're going to call her for the rest of the time.
Joe, Mo, Mojo, Jojo.
Joe Mo.
That
wasn't as good.
no. Sorry.
Or as Giovanni calls it, Mosif.
Yeah.
Mosif.
Yeah, Mosif.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you. I briefly, actually for a solid 2 minutes on the last podcast, Russell and I were talking about you after you hung up.
Yeah.
We said bad things and put them on the internet.
Aw.
No, but we talked about how you're in 3 bands. We got...
Yeah, I'm in a band called Double Suede that I've had since I was a freshman in high school. I'm in a band called Yeet. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Yeet, as in this bitch empty Yeet. And then I'm also in a duo thing called Muddy Jean with my friend Jake. And then also sometimes I play bass for the band Dinosaur Diner, which is also the same guitarist from Yeet. So...
And you said you were going to be doing stuff with Tori soon, right?
Yeah, Tori and I have been meaning to, get together and do stuff with Sapphire Trans Am. I'm just, really bad at scheduling, because I do too many things, and I agree to too many things. Luckily, this is something I agreed to that, I was already going to be here, so, it works out. But yeah, Tori wants me to do bassy things for her, so, yeah.
Cool.
Good old Tori.
Yeah, good old Tori. I actually think I'm thinking of either having her on this coming week, or next week.
I feel like Tori would be a good addition to the show. She has a lot of things to say about literally everything.
Yes, she does.
I don't think there's one topic that Tori doesn't have at least somewhat of an opinion on.
Yeah.
And she would agree with me if she was here in this room. She would totally agree with me.
Well, in that case, let's bring out our special guest.
Oh no.
She's not here.
That would be really cool, though. If you timed that, I would have been like, wow, that's impressive. You have some tricks on this.
If I've had a surprise guest, Tori, she's been hiding in Brandon's closet, in my closet.
She's been hiding there for weeks now.
We've given her tortilla chips.
It smells weird in there.
I thought you were just going to say it smells weird in here.
No, it does not smell weird in here. I don't have a sense of smell.
For those of you who don't know, my recording studio is my bedroom.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just a little dorm room.
Just a little bit.
Just chilling. There's a staple gun in here in case anybody wanted to know.
Boom. Second Amendment.
I don't think the Second Amendment applies to staple guns, but you know what? You gotta do you.
Gun control.
Gun control on staple guns exclusively.
Oof.
Why do I need pictures of Spider-Man? I don't know why I said that. So yeah,
you wanted to talk about music industry and stuff like
that. Yeah, music, such an interesting thing. I think something interesting that I'm seeing happen with the music industry right now is that it's you have the pop, quote unquote pop industry, or the commercialized industry where it's you go to a record label and they pay you and you make a bunch of songs and you write a bunch of really mean songs about the music industry because you realize how much it sucks, and then you become a famous pop star, and then you go to Coachella, and then that's what it is. And then there is the sort of DIY, not I guess Philly DIY, where it's more of just you play shows, you create a fan base, you're in 7 bands, shout out to Hank Byerly, who's in more bands than I am, and you create that fan base and you create that whatever subgenre because you're just you're not playing to the masses, you're not playing for the radio, you're playing for yourself and the people that are going to like your music. And it's kind of cool how you can become famous and big in both of those ways. It's either you get there and you pay a lot of money to get there, or you get there by working your way up, and I think either are valid.
Yeah.
There are shitty bands. There are crappy bands. Sorry, Joe's mom. There are crappy bands in both sectors. There are crappy artists in both sectors, but there are also really good artists in both sectors. So, do you have comments on that, Joe?
Well, I have. I mean, you could kind of apply a lot of that to any industry, really, because you could either, pay good money and like know a lot of people and get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad always told me business is a contact sport, so it
Yeah.
always depends on who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just work it, just work the top, climb the ladder, sort of thing. Again, I have no real scale on what music is. I'm a finance major.
I mean,
So-
how does the finance world work, Joe? I don't know anything about that.
Well, the finance
Let's
world is
educate each other. That's what this is what the episode's about.
It's
Educating people.
self-education.
Yeah.
That's right. Last episode was self-love. This one's self-education.
Ooh.
Common theme.
A theme.
Sort of. But quick side note before I get into accounting and finance and stuff.
Ooh.
Eventually, I think it'd be good to have you back on and then have my roommates talk with you. My roommates and their band, Psychic Agency. Plugging them again. Plugged them in the first part.
What are they called again?
Psychic Agency.
Psychic Agency. I feel like they definitely contacted the booking company that I sort of work with, kind of. They do more work than I do because I literally have no idea what I'm doing. Space Race Productions. I'm plugging that, Space Race Productions.
They have links. Send them to me. I'll stick them in the description.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page.
All right.
My friend Quiva designed the logo. So that's about it. I definitely think they contacted us, but yeah. So you want me to talk to them?
Yeah. So I think it would be pretty cool to have you guys on all together and then have a big debate on, what you guys think of the music industry.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely starting to try to branch stuff out. Because now I see that people kind of like this, sort of.
I like it.
All 55 of you that watched the last one.
55? 55 people are gonna hear me?
Yeah.
Oh man.
A whole 55.
I hope I don't offend any of them.
Some of them were probably just me multiple times checking comments and stuff.
All right, Joe.
Oh well.
I see it.
Yeah.
You have self-love for yourself.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not a narcissist. I don't listen to myself talk. Who are you?
Who are you? How did you get in my recording studio?
Ah!
But yeah, so like how does the world of business work? Like
Well, the business, like, a lot of what I know is either from classes or from my dad yelling at me as a kid, being like, this is
Yelled
what business is. Well, we're all just loud people, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also the stereotype. Cubans are just loud.
Is that a stereotype?
Yes, very much.
Oh, okay, cool.
Cubans are loud.
I'll
So,
log that.
log that one. In case I need to be racist.
In case I need to be racist for some reason. In case I need to get banned from the Oscars.
Yeah.
Just for anyone that's listening, he just dabbed and hit his hand on something.
The mirror, closet,
on the mirror.
sliding door.
Yeah, you're welcome. So anyway, what were you saying?
So that line I told you from my dad. Business is a contact sport.
Mm-hmm.
Business is definitely there's a lot changing in it today, especially with technology and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely getting your brand out there and scattershot marketing, which is more just to get your brand out there. That's probably the main point that I'm going to be talking about with this. Because that's all. But that's the main thing of business, because your business doesn't run unless you have customers.
Yeah.
So if you want people to know who you are, recognize your brand, you got to put yourself out there, and marketing is definitely where that comes in.
Sort of how like when you're in a band or you're a musician, you have to know your audience in order to market yourself, in order to brand yourself.
Of course, and especially when you're starting out, you're not going to be like, I know my niche market right now, right off the bat. You play, music that sort of fits to everything. And I remember we were talking about this last week, where it's like, you said music genre it's a weird way to break it down because you can constantly break it down separately. So then there's playing to one big genre and then continue to break yourself down into subgenres as you specialize.
Or the opposite, which I think happens in commercial music, whereas you are originally playing to one genre and then they eventually make you, the music industry sort of makes you broaden your horizons.
Yeah, because...
I think I saw that happen with Halsey, because my friend had gotten me into Halsey like a little bit before she kind of hit the big time. And she was playing to a very, like, she had a very specific sound. She had a very specific, like, niche that she was playing towards. And then when she, hit the big time, she got really popular. Now she just makes sort of generic pop music. Not to say that Halsey isn't good. I like her music, but, like, it's just not the same because it's not directed at the same audience because she became a quote-unquote pop artist.
I don't listen to a whole lot of Halsey. I remember listening to her a little bit back in, like, 2016. Like, when I heard one of her songs on the radio, New Americana, that's what it was. Does she now have, like, I noticed a little bit, does she have the indie girl lisp? That when she sings,
She sort of like has lost like the way that she used to sing. Like it's still like her voice is recognizable, but like she's lost sort of the way that she produced music and the way that she sang and the way that she wrote songs. I think it's very different now. It's still her, it's still coming from a genuine place, but it's like not the same, again, because she had to sort of broaden her genre as opposed to, you know, I think with my music specifically, and a lot of other DIY artists I've seen where you just sort of play whatever you're listening to, and then when you find that thing that you really like, you sort of go in that direction. That happened with Double Suede. We actually, little known fact, we all started playing, the first song we ever played together was a Green Day song, because like me and the drummer were really big fans of Green Day, and like I still am, but like Green Day has kind of gone downhill since 21st Century Breakdown, probably ever since American Idiot. But so we would just play like, you know, Green Day covers, and we played like a Killers cover one time. We would just like play music that we liked. And then when we figured out sort of the genre that we were going for, which was more like psych rock, like psychedelic, crazy, like Tame Impala kind of vibes, then we went in that direction. So it's sort of cool to see it's like a triangle, and you gotta flip it upside down, you know, depending on what industry you're in, or what side of the industry you're in.
And you definitely see that with a lot of art. Mm-hmm. And a lot of just any creator, artist, anybody really, that's sort of what happens is they go by what they like. They're like, I want to do this, so they go by what they like, and they're like, I really like this, so I'm going to keep going with the style of this, and eventually through that their own style kind of starts to show itself. Because then it's like they start to have personal taste where it's like, oh, I don't like this so much about this style, I'm going to change that just a little bit. And I think that's what back to the point we were talking about earlier about the insane subgenre breakdown. That's why there's so many. Because everyone's like, oh, I really like this, but I'm going to change this, and it's just a big tree.
Because everybody wants to be themselves. Everybody wants to be quote unquote different. And yet still be the same, because there are a lot of artists that are like, oh, they're so different. It's like, no, there's like 17 other artists that sound exactly the same to this person. They're not different. They're not special. I mean, myself included. You know, like, with the music that I write and that I help to write, it's like I definitely try to add my own spin on it, but at the end of the day, it's still psych rock, or it's still R&B, or, you know, it's still gonna end up, you know, in that one genre, no matter how much I say that it is some other genre. Because other people are gonna classify it as something else.
And like with a podcast like this, it's like, as much as I want to be like, yeah, this is Fresh Cup of Joe over here. This is its own little corner. Literally just me and another person in a room with a microphone.
Isn't that what all podcasts are, Joe? Isn't that what all podcasts are, Joe?
I was getting to that, but you know, some people actually have studios.
Oh, self-deprecating humor. We love that here.
That's what we're about on Fresh Cup of Joe. Self-deprecation.
That's what we're all about at Self Cup of Joe. Fresh deprecation.
Fresh deprecation.
Served hot and fresh daily. Ooh.
God, this happened last time.
What?
This happened last time.
Someone texted you?
Yeah, where my friend texted me. I forgot to mute my computer.
You gotta mute your computer.
I do have to mute. I don't want to mess anything up. Let's see.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, nothing happened.
Okay.
So I could have done this last time and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to remind myself earlier. Remember to mute your computer before you start recording, because someone's gonna text you. And last time was Michael, and we had a little bit about that. But this was just Facebook telling me that I've been mentioned. Which you mentioned.
Someone mentioned you in a comment.
Yeah.
Where they were like, hey, Joe, screw you.
I know you're recording.
I know you're recording. I'm going to mention you on Facebook.
Ha! I know it's going to go through your phone.
Well, what are some kind of genres that you mainly go towards when you're listening to music? Like, I mean, I know there are a lot of people that are like, I listen to everything, I'm included. But, like, what are the genres that when you open Spotify or you open Apple Music that you're like, you immediately go to that as like a default?
That's a weird question for me, at least, because I'm like alternative rock, and I know that's very broad.
Yeah.
But like generally alternative rock. But then there's weird parts where it's like I'll listen to like classic country, you know, stuff like Johnny Cash,
Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson, definitely. And but recently I've been listening to like 50s music.
Interesting.
Yes.
Like the Crickets and like who was the other person I was thinking about? Frankie Valli, like that kind of stuff.
I can't think of any specific artists off the top of my head. It's literally just a playlist. It's definitely not the playlist from Fallout 76.
I feel like it's the playlist from Fallout 76, but you know.
It is.
I'm
sorry.
I don't play Fallout, so I don't get the reference, but cool.
It's
like nuclear. It's like nuclear, like
yeah. So
post-apocalyptic kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So the premise is that back in the 50s, instead of inventing the transistor and going down like a computer route where now we have computers that fit in our pockets, technology was more geared towards nuclear energy and all that. So now nuclear reactors are really tiny.
Oh.
And so everything was based on, now everyone was using these like rare earth minerals and stuff to make tiny nuclear reactors and everything. And everything's still very like 50s themed. Like it's very much like the Jetsons almost. But there's no like flying cars or anything. It's still like grounded as, but like there's crazy stuff like, you know, like cars run on nuclear reactors. The Pip-Boy, I don't know if you know that. It's like it's a computer that you wear on your wrist, but it's like this big.
That seems annoying.
It is, but you know, it's the technology of the time. So then that's like, whoa, there's a computer that you can hold on your wrist, and like the terminals are huge and everything. They're still like big box computers. And the idea is that, and then the world went to war. They nuked each other, and it's 200 years in the future.
Okay.
So now it's like 22 something, and you're roaming the wasteland.
Yeah.
But all the music is 50s.
I was gonna say, so it's like a good playlist.
Yeah. It's like a pretty good playlist. It's good stuff.
I think it's kind of cool how I always say that, like, you know, I think it's kind of amazing how the Beatles took music, like, pretty much single-handedly, I think, took music and, like, made it into something totally different. And if, like, and around that time, like, around the 50s, how, you know, whatever, for anyone, you know, listening who knows me, y'all know I'm a amateur Beatles historian. I pretty much know everything there is to know about the Beatles. People are like, oh my god, I love the Beatles. I'm like, no, like, I literally didn't do anything all of middle school but sit in my room and listen to the Beatles and read books about them. I was a crazy person. Nothing has changed. But so, I mean, like, you know, 1956, like, they were playing, like, skiffle, and they were playing the music of the day, and, you know, they sort of went pop in, like, the early 60s, and then just, like, they just started doing literally whatever they wanted to. With no... And, like, people let them.
Yeah.
Which, like, wasn't a thing. Like, you know, with any other artist, it was like, all right, boy, I'm gonna give you $100 for every song you ever write. And they were like, okay, Mr., you know, manager man, I'll do whatever you want me to. I want to be famous.
Love the John Mulaney reference.
Yeah, you knew where I was going with that. It wasn't exact, but that's where I was going for. But it's like, they just started doing whatever they wanted to. And I think that's pretty crazy because, you know, even today, there are still people that are like, well, I want to do whatever I want to do. And the corporate guy's like, no, you have to write the songs that I tell you to. There's still that, like, from the 50s to now, there's still that you have to write songs that people want on the radio. And yet, we still have this, like, we still have all these genres. I like, it's just, history repeats itself. I don't know. It's weird.
The way I see it from the business perspective on that, it's you gotta know what sells, and clearly, if something's selling, you want them to continue to pump out that.
Yeah.
Because songs that no one listens to don't make any money, and if a record label is investing in a band, they want them to do what works.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really frustrating about, like, the industry of music itself, because music itself is supposed to be a creative expression, but then when you start... What are you doing?
Sorry, because I bit my lip and I think it's bleeding. Is it? I don't know.
It is bleeding a little bit.
Awesome!
I'm sorry.
Yo, that's a lot for a lip.
It's not... Lips have a lot of blood, dude.
They do. It makes them all red and DSL.
Permission to leave the podcast right now. No, I'm kidding. But what was I talking about? I was definitely making a point. So it's frustrating because it's corporatizing creativity. So, you know, whether it be, you know, the Beatles in 1965 being like, we're gonna do weird things with our music and you can't tell us not to, and yet it's still selling. And then people, again, today wanting to do whatever they want, and it may or may not sell whatever, it's still, you still hear songs about how people hate the music industry because they want them to write songs, and yet they still continue to write songs. I mean, Billy Joel's a prime example. That's literally half of what he wrote about, was the music industry sucks, and yet still continued to write songs because he had to.
Yeah.
It's just like a never-ending cycle. And like, I really hope that in the event that I become a well-to-do songwriter, musician person, I hope I never get that bitter. I feel like I will, just because the kind of person I am.
Who doesn't?
Like,
who isn't gonna get bitter though?
yeah.
Like, everyone's bitter.
Are
I'm
you
a
bitter?
little bitter.
Are you bitter, Joe?
I'm a little bitter sometimes.
You're a little bitter.
A little bitter.
I'm sorry. A little umami. Little umami.
Get out. I like the umami flavor.
But yeah, no, it's the fact that you can make money off of being creative is like a weird concept.
Well, because
We're getting existential.
we are, and making money off creativity, it has always been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Well, it's always been. I mean, it was always kind of destined to be it,
Mm-hmm.
because you're providing a service that not everyone can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first you probably had, like, first what I assumed to have happened was artists were like, I can do this, and if you're good at something, don't do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, I will perform, but you got to pay me
Mm-hmm.
to hear my music.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, okay, so I'll do that. And then eventually, people were like, hey, I know you like doing this, and I know it's expensive to, sit around and write a song.
It is expensive.
It's because time is money. So sitting around writing a song that you don't know is going to succeed it's a big risk. So, like, you can spend all this time writing I'm going to use Beethoven as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know if this is how it played out, but this is what I'm going to assume kind of happened. So Beethoven would sit down and be like, I'm going to write a symphony. And so he'd write it, and he doesn't know if it's going to work out or not.
He really doesn't know because he's deaf, but like,
Yeah. He really doesn't.
He really didn't know. He's like, I don't know, maybe this is going to work. Maybe, I don't know.
No, he put his ear against the piano.
No, I know, but
I get it.
it was a joke.
I can ruin jokes so
It was
easily.
a joke.
You see why my comedy career collapsed?
Yes, I do.
Career is in like 3 weeks of trying.
You gotta try harder.
Yeah.
Anyway, Beethoven.
I'm doing a little
writing
bit.
symphony.
I'm shifting. But, so yeah, Beethoven. So then it would be much easier for them to be like, okay, I can sit down and do this if I have a third party saying, hey, I really like your stuff. We will pay you to do this as long as we get a cut of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of how it works. So it's like, okay, so now I can pair up with these people and sell my soul.
Yeah.
And they'll give me a check. They'll give me a check in the mail if I continue to pump out these songs.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that relationship does get toxic.
Yeah.
Where it's like, continue to pump out a song, and it's like, I'm not feeling it right now. And as much of, like, as bad as that sounds to be like, I'm not feeling it. Like, creativity is different than, like, logistical work.
Yeah.
Because it's inherent.
You have to come up with something that no one's ever come up with before.
Yeah. Well, everything's a remix.
True. I mean, every book is a remix of the alphabet, but like, you have to come up with something that's quote unquote new and different that people are gonna like. And that's the other thing that you mentioned before, like writing a song and not knowing if it's gonna do well. I mean, going back to Billy Joel, he has a line in The Entertainer where he says like, the fact that he spent all this time working on this song, and it's like, it was the best years of his life, and then the company cut it down to 305 so they could put it on the radio. So it's like the whole song itself, it's sort of like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody is a freaking forever minute song, and they were like, we don't want this because it's forever minutes long.
If 6 minutes is forever, I pity your wife.
Yeah. That's a good line from that movie. Side note, why did it win Best Editing? The editing was not good. Just side note,
yeah.
It wasn't a good edited movie.
Are we about to start talking about the Oscars?
No, we're not. I don't want to talk about the Oscars. Although, the one thing I was happy about was that Into the Spider-Verse won Best Animated Picture. Because what else would it have won?
I was happy about two things. I was happy about Spider-Verse winning
Yeah.
Best Animated Picture, and I was happy that Black Panther didn't win Best Picture.
Really?
Yes, because as much as I like Marvel movies, as much as I like Black
That
Panther,
was a good movie.
it's not on the same level as a lot of the movies that were in the Oscars.
Yeah. There were some performances that were a little... Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, it's a Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. And, it, like, as much as, like, I like Marvel movies, they're not amazing movies. They're not of critical acclaim to be like, oh my god, like, what a game-changing movie.
And it would have been weird if it was just Black Panther that had an Oscar, and all the other Marvel movies were like, what about us?
And Infinity War was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, good.
Infinity War was amazing. And Endgame's coming out soon. And Captain Marvel.
Oh, man. That's a lot.
That was a weird inflection on Captain Marvel.
What was I talking about? This is the problem, is that when you have someone on here with attention issues. You had Russell on last time.
We did.
Yeah. And Russell and I talk in tangents, so yeah.
Well, I mean, what kind of conversation doesn't have tangents?
Hopefully one about trigonometry would have tangents. But
wow, I really hope my granddad listens to this because he would really appreciate that.
Math jokes. I cannot contribute many, but I can contribute some. Some. As another math joke.
Oh my god.
Yeah, don't remember what I was talking about.
You're subtracting from the conversation.
Yeah, I am, truly. But no, you don't get a laugh for that one. I'm only gonna laugh at my own jokes. But so, in conclusion, music industry sucks. But we do it anyway because we need to eat.
Gotta get the bag.
What?
Get the bag.
What's the bag?
The bread.
Oh.
I don't know.
I think it's definitely gotta get that bread.
There's new slang where it's like, hey, I got the bag. You know?
That's a new thing?
Apparently.
Slang is weird. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Slang in itself is like weird. Like the etymology of like different slang words is like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like how did the word fleek become a thing? Like where did that come from? Like on fleek?
Yeah.
Like this is on fleek. Like where did that come from?
Someone probably just said it and it caught on.
Who was that person?
I don't know.
What did it come from? What were they trying to say?
Where did yeet come from?
I don't know. From when the girl goes, this bitch empty yeet, and then she threw the can.
Yeah.
But like, what was she trying to say?
I don't know.
I mean, goodbye is technically a slang word.
It is.
Because it's from God be with ye, and it was abbreviated, and then it turned into goodbye.
Fun fact about the term ye.
Yes.
The Y was actually supposed to be an abbreviation for TH.
Yes.
And
God be with thee.
Yeah, but, you know, we abbreviated it, and we're like, hey, that looks like a Y.
That looks like a Y, kinda.
George Carlin has a fun bit about slang and sayings.
George Carlin was a smart man.
He is.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He's a great man.
Mm-hmm.
Who was I talking about earlier? Yesterday at work, I was laughing with some guests outside the hotel I work at. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about Sebastian. I forget his last name.
Sebastian Stan?
No. Starts with an M. He's the Chicago guy.
The Chicago guy?
Not from... He's from Chicago. He's not in the show Chicago.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm no closer to knowing who you're talking about.
I don't know. Anyways.
Anyway.
Yeah. Comedy's fun. And especially, like... I guess that's slang is where, I don't know. Where was I going with this?
I don't know.
This is going to be half the podcast now. I don't
know. New topic.
New topic.
What is something we can talk about?
I'm already on the second episode and running out of stuff to talk about.
Not necessarily. I just, sort of there was a dip in the conversation, which is natural. There are natural lulls in conversation.
There are.
Do you know the band The Garden? Going back to music.
I've heard of them.
So I first heard of them because they toured with Mac DeMarco for like a year ago. I want to say a year and a half ago, maybe something like that. And they're two twin brothers from California, and they're models, and they're like 23. And they created their own music genre called Vada Vada. And let me see if I can Google the exact like explanation as to what Vada Vada is, because their music is really weird, but it's like also really fun to listen to. And the fact that they just created their own music genre. They just decided to do it.
They're like, this is new.
Yeah, they're like, we've decided that this is a thing now.
Like, this is a kilogram.
Exactly like that. Exactly.
It's arbitrary.
Can you, while I'm looking for this, can you explain why a kilogram is a kilogram? Do you know about why a kilogram is a kilogram?
No, but I know why a foot's a foot.
Why is a foot, Joe?
Well, it was measured by the king's foot, and it was the last king that they had.
Really?
Yeah.
What is
It's not very lackluster. I forget why a kilogram is a kilogram, though. It recently changed.
It has to do with, like, this block that they measured. And, they decided it was a kilogram.
That I knew. That, they have the big, they have the kilogram thing in France. I think it's in France. Mm-hmm. I forget where in France. Probably Paris.
Probably.
Makes sense. It's where all the good stuff is. Mm-hmm. Like olive oil.
Like olive oil. I thought olive... Okay, whatever.
I don't know. Well, bread and butter, I guess. The French got a lot of stuff right with food.
They did. I have to say.
But yeah, the kilogram is just a block that they keep in a very, like, tightly sealed container.
I found it. Okay. So, Vada Vada is not only a music genre, it's also a dance, an attitude, and a made-up universe. In early 2011, twin brothers Fletcher and Wyatt Shears started an experimental rock band called The Garden. They call their music genre Vada Vada. Vada Vada is their own little universe. A lot of Vada Vada has to do with being yourself, a creature in its habitat doing its own thing, Wyatt says. Vada Vada is our own kind of made-up universe that we've created, and everything we do comes out of Vada Vada. It's a kabuki-like... the dance is a kabuki-like flailing of self-provoking either the wrath or admiration of the now anachronistic form of sweaty middle-aged flesh. What does that even mean, Joe? I want to do the Vada 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 Vada. Like, what? What is this? I don't know, but these two freaky kids came up with it.
Sounds like a cult.
It does sound like a cult. I think it's a cult.
Music's a cult.
It is kind of a cult. I mean, when you think about it, like, there are, like, queens and kings, like, Gladys Knight is the Empress of Soul, you know, Michael Jackson was the king of pop, Elvis was the king of rock? No?
I think he's just the king.
I think he's just the king, like, he's just the king in general.
He's just the king.
You know, and you have different, they call it, like, music royalty. It's kind of a cult. And, you know, everyone knows certain songs, and if you don't, like, you're ostracized.
Yeah.
You know?
Same thing with movies, though.
Movies, I feel like less. But definitely, I also feel that with movies. Like, I've never seen Rocky. And I live in the vicinity of Philadelphia. You're giving me a look right now. I've never seen any of the Rocky movies. I've never seen Taxi Driver. I've never seen The Shining. I
haven't seen Taxi Driver yet.
I've never seen so many movies that I probably should see.
Indiana Jones.
I have seen Indiana Jones.
Which ones?
I do not remember. Could not tell you off the top of my head which ones.
Okay.
Most of them, probably.
It's probably why you have to watch them again. If you can't remember them by name.
Yeah. I think I used to, like, watch them as a kid. I've only ever seen 2 Star Wars movies.
Which ones?
New Hope.
Okay.
And is it the last... Force Awakens.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I saw The Force Awakens.
Well, you gotta watch Empire Strikes Back. That's regarded as one of the best Star Wars movies of all time.
I'm just not into Star Wars. And you know what? That's okay.
It is okay to not be into something. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna kick her out immediately and end this podcast right now.
Ha 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 ha. Funny. Funny.
I keep forgetting there's no visual aspect to this. That's why everyone's telling me, get a visual aspect. And I'm like, that means I need a set.
Well, no, not necessarily. You could just put it on YouTube and, like, do, like, weird, like, little clip art stuff.
That's true.
That's, you know, it's what it is.
Well, I mean, that's what I do.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, the whole thing right now, what they should be looking at right now is just the logo, Fresh Cup of Joe. Oh. Which was revamped. I don't know if anyone noticed that.
Oh, no, I did not notice that.
I revamped it so it's less quality, because the first one I made in Google Docs.
Oh, wow.
And I took a screenshot of it, so the picture quality was atrocious.
There's a lot of money going into this.
There is.
Just letting you know. A whole... $10.
Yeah.
That's okay. Another thing about music, this is just a side note. The fact that there is no money in it is like when you are, you know how when you go to a concert, like you have to pay like $1 bajillion to get to that concert.
It's for the venue.
Well, part of it's for the venue, but also it's the fact that like, when you're a smaller performer, and you're playing at like, you're not playing at like the BB&T. You're not playing at Wells Fargo. You're playing at like, Union Transfer, which is, a big venue in my eyes because I play in people's basements. But, if you're smaller and you have $35 tickets at Union Transfer, like, most of that money is going to eating and, like, being able to pay your producers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like you carry around thousands of dollars worth of equipment to go to a gig that's, forever away, and you're not getting paid what you're actually worth, like, after. It's sort of like how the movie industry works.
Yeah.
Where when I get paid, side note, if anyone if anyone listening to this doesn't know, I'm an actor. I am. When I get paid, not, the reason why a lot of actors will ask for millions of dollars for an episode of a TV show, like every episode, is because not only do they have to pay their agents and their managers, but they also have to pay their lawyers, they have to pay their publicists, they have to pay whoever else that they're employing, they have to pay their taxes, and they're in a super, super high tax bracket because of, like, the large amount of money that they're getting, like, from the checks, which does not necessarily reflect what you're getting every year. Like, when I get paid for the next Jumanji coming out in December, I'm going to be in a ridiculous tax bracket, when I'm normally just a server at a restaurant. And I shouldn't even really be in a tax bracket because I don't make enough money at my serving job to be in a tax bracket.
Fun fact, it's actually $3,000. The first $3,000 you make, you can't get taxed on.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's the first $3,000 you don't get taxed on that.
I don't know anything about taxes. I have to do them soon.
Yeah. It's coming up, what?
Everybody do your taxes.
Yeah.
So you don't get arrested.
Almost. Yeah.
Thrown in jail.
The same thing happens with, like, business, though. Like, you walk somewhere, you go somewhere, and it's like, whoa, why is this so expensive? Mm-hmm. It's because there's a lot going into it.
Yeah.
Like let's say I have a store that sells chairs.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I make I make wooden chairs. Someone comes in and the chair is like $100.
Yeah.
And they're like, why is this chair $100?
Well, because it took time to make the chair.
Yeah, I had to buy the wood, buy the supplies, pay the rent, electricity, people that work the register, taxes, property taxes,
So the actual profit that you're getting out of that chair is very small.
Yeah, there's a profit margin and everything because it's cost benefit. Mm-hmm. So the whole point is that you make your retail price higher than the cost of goods sold.
Mm-hmm. And I, as the musician or as the actor, am the goods. My creativity and my music playing is the goods. So I have to, it's the goods, it's the goods. If for anyone that can't see, I'm making Italian hands.
Thing.
I have an old Jewish man's voice, but Italian man hands. I'm not racist. I'm just surrounded by a lot of Jewish people in my industry.
That was racist.
No, I literally am. I grew up, my manager is Jewish. Her husband, Jewish. Their whole family, they're all Jewish. Mike, also the manager on the New York side of things, Jewish. That's just what it is.
There's a lot of Jewish people in Miami, actually.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually a surprising amount of Jewish people.
That's that's a fact I did not know.
It's weird.
There's a lot of old people in Florida too.
There are.
It's warm there.
Well, Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is where all the old people go.
This is where Joe educates me about Florida because I know nothing about Florida.
Oh my god, Florida is quite interesting because you got
place.
Miami, which is so. Here's how it works. You start at the Panhandle, big top part. Start coming down. The further down you go,
the weirder it gets.
Very much so.
Cool.
So you get Tallahassee, Gainesville, and Jacksonville, big cities, universities there.
Yeah.
Like, we're a normal state, right? Then you start getting into, like, swampy land.
Swamp people.
Yes, basically. So you get to Orlando, and Orlando's got, like, Disney and everything, and it's like, all right, cool. Like, it's not all bad. It's just, Disney World. Disneyland. I mean, Disney World and Universal. Universal. I love that state. Anyways, so you move past that, and then it's just all swamp for miles, and Okeechobee City, and just Lake Okeechobee, and that's all swamp, people living in little shacks on rivers and stuff.
Cool. And eating gators.
Yep.
Chilling out.
And
Shooting guns, having fun.
Yep, basically. Then you get down to Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale. I'm going down the East Coast. West Coast is irrelevant.
The West Coast is irrelevant?
The West Coast of Florida, you got Fort Myers, which I guess used to be a really cool spring break spot.
Okay.
You have Naples.
Naples?
Which is
Sounds
another
like
old...
nipples. But continue.
It's another old person spot, which is literally just built on a swamp. All of South Florida is built on a swamp.
That doesn't sound structurally sound.
It doesn't. Like we're 5 feet above sea
New
level.
New York City is not structurally sound at all.
It's not.
Like, I'm concerned about it.
Yeah.
California is not structurally sound. Los Angeles is going to be gone in the next 50 years.
Well, that's what happens when you build yourself on a fault line.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's also Venice isn't structurally sound. It's literally sinking right now.
Yeah, Venice is sinking. Get to Venice before it
Venice.
sinks.
Guys, why don't we just put balloons on it?
That's Up, Joe. That's a movie. That doesn't really work. But back to the fact that there are a lot of Jews in the industry. I don't actually know why that's a thing. It just is. And it's not even like, people are like, is that it's not racist. It's literally a fact.
Can I go conspiracy theory on you for a second?
As long as it's not racist, Joe.
Then I won't go full. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a racist thing. It was a joke from Oh Hello, where
Oh, hello.
oh,
One of
hello.
our famous tones.
When they're talking to Steve Martin.
Yes.
And he's like, "Do Jews not control the world of art?"
Oh.
But Steve Martin isn't Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah,
ladies
it's
and
funny.
gentlemen.
It's a good joke. Nick Kroll is, so he can make that joke.
Yeah.
John Mulaney is Jewish by association, kind of like me.
Yeah. Listen, I'm Egyptian. I'm like the farthest you can get from Jewish.
Egyptian?
Yeah.
You're closer to Jerusalem.
We are, but like, Egypt wasn't exactly very nice to Jewish people.
Okay, all right. I got you. Yeah,
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, I'm gonna turn my chair from that one. That was rough. Okay, anyway. But enough about race.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's happening in the entertainment industry right now. So as I'm Anglo-Saxon, Irish, that's what I am. I'm a
Multi-grain bread.
generic white person. I did, my 23andMe results are coming in March 15th. I'll keep you updated as to what flavor of white chocolate I am. We're not sure, but all I know is that I'm very, very pale.
I need to do my 23andMe. I haven't done it yet.
You should. It's the government's gonna have your DNA, but honestly, it's worth it. I hope to see a clone of me someday somewhere. But so
You won't see it. They'll just take you and then replace you with it.
anyway, that's freaky. Anyway, so what's happening right now is there's a lot of diversity in Hollywood, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It means that, people of color are getting a chance to, play their race in a non-stereotypical way,
Yeah.
which is great. Or we're not writing race roles at all. We're just casting people, and the race that they are is the race that they are, and that's fine, and that's perfect because, when it comes to a character, unless their race has to do very specifically with the character, you can just cast whoever. There's my phone that buzzed. You should just be able to cast whoever because, people are people. But the thing that's happening right now is there's almost like a diversity initiative going on in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Where they're like, we are going to say any ethnicity, but what that means is we want someone that looks racially ambiguous. So for people like me who look so Irish, you could practically just put a kilt on me and that's fine. And just send me off, with woad on my face and into Braveheart. That's Scottish,
Yeah.
but whatever. It's going to be more difficult for people that look like me to get roles. So it's the opposite. I'm not going to say it's reverse racism because it's not. It's just flipped on its head. Now, stereotypical looking white people are not as wanted for lead roles because they want more diversity in Hollywood. So it's good for some people and it's difficult for others. That's just how it be right now.
Yeah.
It's just be what it be. And, I hope eventually it'll all level out and we can just all get the roles that happen, and that's what it is. But for right now, it's kind of more difficult for, white people to get roles in, like, indie films and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that there's not going to be Nicholas Sparks films that are just all white people. What is that? What is that? I don't like Nicholas Sparks film, but can we have a Nicholas Sparks film about not the most boring looking white people ever invented by humans?
I'm not very familiar with Nicholas Sparks, so I might have to either educate myself or you're gonna have to
They're
educate me.
they're like what are they called? They're like those really cheesy romantic comedies, and they're based on books, like The Notebook. But The Notebook's actually like not a bad story, but it's like that,
I was gonna say
vibe.
The Fault in Our Stars. I know people really liked the book and the movie.
Fault in Our Stars is John Green. It's less cheesy, but it's still cheesy.
Yeah. I don't like people that hail Fault in Our Stars as one of the best romantic movies of all time.
I don't agree with that at all. Sorry, John Green. I don't think that Fault in Our Stars is that great of it's about two dying people.
Like,
I don't know. It's just it's lackluster. I've seen it before.
I mean, who hasn't? Like,
I actually haven't seen Fault in Our Stars, but I know the plot. It's very
you
basic.
can guess it very quick.
I mean, you can get. I also knew somebody told me what it was because I was like, I'm not going to see this movie. Yeah. I don't like romantic movies at all. I think they're kind of dumb.
I don't either.
Unless it's like 10 Things I Hate About You, but that's because it's based on Shakespeare and it's in the 90s and it's got Heath Ledger, and so those three things. I like that movie.
Yeah.
But like movies where the romance is like the crux of the movie, that it drives the plot.
Yeah.
I'm like, but there's so much more to life.
I've seen a lot, as much as I'm not a film student, I do watch a lot of like film analysis videos.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can hold my own in a debate about film and such. And I think like the best way for a film plot to progress isn't the plot progressing the characters, it's character decisions and other motivations progressing it, because then it's not, oh, the plot demands that this character do this. It should be now, because of this character's previous decisions, they now have to do this. Or this character himself and his personality, and his or her personality is going to make them do this. And this is going to create conflict, because if you look at it as just a character doing a plot, then there's no movie.
Yeah.
Because then it's just have them do this.
Yeah.
But it has to be a person doing something because they're a person.
Yeah. Because that's how life is.
Yeah. That's why I don't like super perfect... that's why I like James Bond movies. James Bond movies are really good. But
that's another thing. I've never seen a James Bond movie.
Never seen James Bond? Not even Daniel Craig?
Nope. Much as I like Daniel Craig, never seen a James
Bond
movie.
They're good. Especially newer ones and stuff. Because... This happens, and I don't know the term for male characters, but the female characters, Mary Sue, where they're just so infallible that
the femme fatale.
Yeah, well, femme fatale's different. Femme fatale's, she's usually like the antagonist, or.
Oh, I see what you mean. She's like the perfect woman.
She's the perfect woman, can't be faulted by anything. I don't like that, because then
women aren't like that.
They're not.
Women have flaws, just as men have flaws.
And I like flaws. Flaws create character. That's why I don't like Rey from Star Wars, because the only flaw she has is she doesn't know who her parents are, and she's learning how to use the Force.
Is that a flaw?
I
don't know who my parents are. I'm flawed.
Well, in the same sense as she's conflicted and she feels that Kylo can be redeemed, but I don't see that as enough of a flaw to justify her character, to say that she's not a
Now, on the flip side, playing devil's advocate, which is an annoying sentence to say, but people go to the movies to see perfection. People go to the movies to get out of real life. So that's why there is a market for these, these characters and these plot-driven movies, because people want to go to the movies to get out of reality. Whereas me personally, I would rather see movies as a reflection of augmented reality.
I would beg to differ on why people go to the movies. You're right about escapism.
I don't think that's the only reason. I think that's a big reason, and that's why certain movies have a market.
but like the your justification behind escapism is like you're right with escapism. It's just your justification is what I disagree with. Your justification is that people go to see perfection because they're not perfect, so they want to go see it. What I think it is because seeing perfection is different because then it's just they overcome all their conflicts and issues like super easily because they're perfect. People who go to the movies see flawed people because they relate with that character, and then the overcoming of those flaws through the plot and accepting those flaws, overcoming them is why people go. I
see you, yeah, because then they themselves can sit and be like, oh well, if that flawed person can overcome their flaws, I can too. But the thing is the plot is created to make that person overcome their flaws rather than that person actually overcoming their flaws like a normal person.
Yeah.
There was a movie that I was in, filmed in 2014. It was called Quitters, and the whole movie is about flawed people, and you never quite see them overcome their flaws, and that's the kind of movie that I personally like because at the end you see Clark, the main character, he's an asshole, and his dad, who's also an asshole. He's running towards his dad, and not to spoil the movie for anyone there's a lot that that this is the thing is that like I can spoil the end but it doesn't ruin the movie because there's so much that happens in the movie.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. So you just see him running up the hill towards his dad, and that's the end of the movie. It stops as soon as they start to overcome their flaws, and that's a movie that I would more rather see because I went through the journey with them and I don't get to see them become perfect because again, seeing perfection is sort of like, oh well, you figured it out, I still haven't figured it out, so screw you.
Now I have to watch this perfect person do something.
Exactly.
It's like
it's psychology, man.
It is.
It's psychology.
There's a big psychology in movies, and let's bring this all back to Captain
We're bringing
Marvel.
it back. What time is it?
We're bringing it all the way back to Captain Marvel, which was literally like a minute ago.
Yes.
But that's why I'm worried about Captain Marvel.
Why?
Because it seems, from what we can tell from trailers, is that the plot is that she was an Air Force pilot that was really good, and then she has an encounter with a Kree battleship. And she gets shot down, has an accident, gains all these powers. The Kree kidnap her and make her a part of Star Force. And then she's
Space Force?
Right? But anyways, it's like the Kree, SEAL Team 6, basically.
Yeah.
And they're all these, super, super crazy, fighters and everything. And they do all this stuff. And then she eventually comes back to Earth, discovers her identity, and then becomes her own entity. And the issue I have with it is that her flaw throughout the movie is that she doesn't remember her past.
She doesn't know her parents.
Well, no, it's just she doesn't remember anything, and so everyone's like, "Oh, the Kree wiped her memory and made them see the Kree were really good people, but there might not be." And the Skrull are actually kind of the good guys; they're just not as bad, or bad guys, but not as bad as we thought, sort of thing. But I'm worried about it because I feel like she's just going to be another Mary Sue in a Mary Sue in a Marvel movie already. Again, I like Marvel movies, but the plots are pretty linear and don't do a whole lot. So having a pretty generic character
and a pretty generic plot
makes a pretty generic movie.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not like that. I hope it's really cool because it's Brie Larson, right?
Yeah.
I really like Brie Larson. I think she's a good actress.
She is.
Hopefully she will make choices that will not make her a quote unquote Mary Sue archetype, because it's one thing to say that the character is how it's written, and then when you actually bring it to life as an actor, it can be a totally different thing. So hopefully with her acting ability and her choices and however the director wants her to be, because the director's half of it, hopefully she'll be able to bring the character really to life.
Yeah, and that happens with everything. It's another Marvel movie example is Josh Brolin with Thanos. A lot of really good character choices, especially since his entire character was CGI, but mocap. It's very well done. Thanos was a great character.
Great boy.
He's a great boy. God, I just keep remembering Thick Thanos.
I keep remembering Thanos' car.
Thanos' car. Oh, jeez.
Oh, man. Thanos memes. Oh, and then in Deadpool, when it's Josh Brolin and he plays
As Cable.
He plays Cable.
Shut up, Thanos.
All right, shut up, Thanos.
I've got some stones for you.
My mom didn't register that when we saw the movie. She was
Really?
like, "What?" I was like, "Mom, it's Josh Brolin. He plays Thanos." She's like, "No, he doesn't." I'm like, "Mom,
Did
shut
you really
up."
think they got a great boy to play Thanos?
Like, really?
But yeah, so Thanos has like Josh Brolin has a lot of like really cool little moments where it's his acting choices shining through. Like the part where he's got Gamora and they're at nowhere, and Star-Lord is
Star-Lord.
like, "Shut up, Grimace," and he's like trying to remember like the exact line. All I remember is that he has this like, oh no, it wasn't with Chris Pratt, it wasn't with Star-Lord, it was on the ship, it was the opening scene,
Yeah.
where he's got Loki and he's gonna power stone.
You will never be a god.
That, but not quite there. It's before that. So
Yeah.
he's gonna power stone. He's like, "Give me the Tesseract, or I'm gonna blow your brother's head off." And Loki goes, "Kill away," and Thanos like looks surprised, like, "Oh, I thought you liked them, but oh well." But that made it a choice because Thanos is like an actual character where it's like he's not just he's like, "Oh."
He's not just Hulk smash. He's like actually like he's a person.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he cries when he
when he has to kill
Gamora. It's like he actually he cares about things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting how I've seen a lot of like you never really see villains humanized like that. And you almost see his like idea like it would make sense if we killed half the population. Well, we would have more resources. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but like logically on paper it makes sense. And logically to him it makes sense. So it's like he's willing to risk this all, just so that the world can be stable. Like he thinks he thinks he's a hero.
He sees himself as a prophet. He's like, I am the savior, and he's like, they will look upon me as I will sit on a farm and the sun will set upon a grateful universe.
Yeah.
And
kind of like Hitler.
Yeah.
Hitler was like,
sort
I'm
of.
doing a good thing
But
by
like,
getting rid of all the Jews, and everyone's like, no! That's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
But here's the thing, is that way like back my junior year of high school, I pulled Thanos' idea, because we had to write an op-ed. And literally like the night before, I had a conversation with someone about overpopulation. And I wrote my op-ed on that, and I had just like watched The Matrix, and so I titled the op-ed, "I Told You So, Mr. Anderson."
That's funny.
Because there's that whole line where Smith calls humans a virus because all they do is take and everything, and so
we kind of are.
Yeah,
humans kind of suck.
They do, but at the same level, every animal does that. It's just we're really good at it.
Yeah, and we're really good at destroying things at a faster rate.
Yeah, because the further we evolve, the more we think we need. When really all we need is just like a steady diet and like shelter. But like now because comfort has now become one of the many resources that we need. Yeah.
Which has made the world die. Global warming is real, everybody. Just a side note. Sorry, I'm very passionate about that, because when people are like, "Oh, it's snowing outside," that means global warming doesn't exist. I'm like, no, it's not what that means. It's actually proof that it's global warming.
I think climate change is more of an accurate description, because because climate change reflects just extreme fluctuations.
Are changing.
Yeah, it's just extreme fluctuations in the weather now, not just it's getting hotter.
That's usually why I try to say like climate change, because we just had a polar vortex happen, which was fun and cool.
Yeah,
literally cool. I wasn't here for it. I was in Atlanta. Thank
Lucky.
God. Yeah, it was like negative 51 degrees in like Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like, What? That's colder than Antarctica.
It was actually 65 in Chicago. That's colder than Mars.
Jeez, alright.
It was colder than Mars in Chicago.
Let's go to Mars, everybody. Let's just populate Mars.
We're already on the way there.
Let's destroy Mars instead of Earth. It'll give us something else to do.
But, yeah. But my op-ed, sorry to just instantly come back to what I was
you're
talking
fine. I was interested. I went on a tangent. You're good.
So the op-ed I had was...
I also keep forgetting we're being recorded. But
yeah. The op-ed I had was basically, we're suffering from overpopulation, and we gotta do something about it. So my main recommendation was, teaching, don't have so many kids, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was the idea they tried in China.
Yeah, it didn't really work because what they would do is like, oh, I want a son, so they'd have a daughter, and then be like, oh, bye.
Yeah.
And then just wait till they had a son. So it wasn't like a strictly enforced rule, and that does violate like a lot of human rights to be like, no, you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so my other extreme option was random genocide.
Oh, fun!
But like obviously I did that to be inflammatory.
Yeah, it wasn't an actual idea.
Yeah.
It was more of just a.
And so, but I really liked my closing sentence. It was like, and as much as we like to appreciate, it's like, or just change our habits and stuff so we don't use as many resources, change attitudes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I said, my ending line, I really liked it. It was, as much as this is a step it's like, as long as we do this, we'll be taking a step in the right direction. And even if we do, we have a long walk ahead of us. Mm. And I thought like, man, that was a good punch.
That was good. That was a 1-2 to the,
to
the gut. Ooh. Wow, we've gone through a lot of topics.
We have. It's been an hour.
It's been an hour?
It's been one whole hour.
One whole hour. Well...
Yeah, I think it's about time to start signing off.
Yeah, because I'm hungry, mainly.
Me too. I haven't eaten all day. I drank coffee.
That's not a meal.
Well...
It is to a college student.
Yeah. Also, I just wasn't hungry. Like, I went this whole day, I was like, I'm not that hungry.
Oh, I had a bagel earlier, and a muffin.
I did get calzone last night.
Ooh.
From Calio's. It was good.
Calio's Calzones.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good spot. So, any last minute plugs you want to do? Real quick?
Well, my Instagram is @MoseyFro. I'm verified now, which is cool.
Oh.
Yeah, I got that little blue checkity check. My band is Double Suede. Also, Yeet. You can find us at double_suede, I'm pretty sure is what we are. Let me just check it really quick. Yeats is at Yeet_band. Muddy Jean is at MuddyXJean. And yeah, go if you want to see me in some movies, just go on my IMDb. Or you can watch Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, as well as others.
Jumanji 3, which hasn't been titled yet.
Yeah, it has not been titled
yet. And I don't feel like getting,
Also, subscribe to Jablinski Games if you haven't already. It's Jack Black's gaming channel.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. You didn't know about Jack Black's gaming channel?
Well, I knew...
Gaming channel?
Jack Black's gaming channel?
Jack Black's gaming channel is called Jablinski Games.
I knew Jablinski Games was a thing, but I didn't connect Jack Black with that.
That's Jack Black, yeah.
It is Jack Black.
All right.
Shout out to Jack Black.
Yeah. Just for being himself.
Can I have Jack Black on?
Do
you think we can get Jack Black on the podcast?
Listen, I have the power, but I don't think I'm gonna be
flex it.
I don't think I'm gonna flex it. No.
Damn.
Yeah.
Someday.
Sorry,
my first intro episode, everyone was like, "Get Elon Musk."
Yo, if Elon Musk was on this podcast, I'd cry.
If I had Elon Musk in my apartment, I would cry.
I have a bunch of Elon Musk memes that I want to show him.
I think he's seen them already. He'd probably look at you and be like, "Seen it."
He better.
All right. Well, anyways,
thanks for having me on, Joe.
It was great having you.
Yeah.
And that'll be it for this episode of Fresh Cup of Joe. See you guys later.